My 31M girlfriend, 25F, admitted that I'm not the man of her dreams and I'm broken. Hi all. To give some context before I begin, I've never been my girlfriend's type or man of her dreams. She is 5'9". She's tall, beautiful, built like a model, smart, empathetic, quirky and driven. She comes from a wealthy background, went to a top-tier university and has her own side business aside from work. On the other hand, I'm 5'4". I'm the weird guy who plays piano for fun, goes to comic conventions and prefers to stay in on the weekends. I come from a poor family, went to community college and had to work my way up the ladder. I am fit and am reasonably handsome, but overall on paper society would deem her as out of my league for the many reasons I've stated. Anyhow, we met through the company we both used to work at, where our team was fully remote. At that point in time, we lived states away from each other, her in New York and me in Georgia, but still worked on multiple projects together and built up a good co-working relationship. We eventually started talking off of work hours after developing a bond working long hours together. Basically, we started off as remote work friends, transitioned into being good friends and then eventually started flirting as our connection got deeper and deeper within a span of 8 months or so. We got to the point where we were video chatting, knew everything about each other and even engaged in some risque calls. One of the things we never discussed before meeting in real life was my height. I knew she was 5'9", but she never asked about how tall I was, nor was I ever aware that it was necessary to mention my height. Before we eventually met in person, I had already fallen hard for her, and it wasn't because of her looks but because of the emotional and personal bond we've developed over time remotely. I knew she was the one. She shared such similar values and I loved her quirkiness, sense of humor, her strength, ambition and empathetic nature. She was uncertain about how she felt towards me before we met in person, but I was okay with that. However, she did mention that she thought she had a crush on me but didn't want to promise anything. We finally met in real life at a work conference near my town and she flew in a week earlier to meet me and hang out as friends. I suppose it was a first date even though we didn't define it as that. When we met, she looked extremely beautiful and way more attractive than she already was on video calls. She was way taller than I expected wearing heels, and while I was excited to see her, she seemed genuinely shocked that I was so short. Rather than being friendly like she was in our phone calls. She seemed distant and almost disappointed that I was so small because she was mentioning that she didn't realize how short I was and assumed that I'd at least be her height. She refused to touch me and confessed that she felt odd and uncomfortable because I'm so small, and she was embarrassed because people kept staring at us at the restaurant. I was patient and understanding. I told her that I won't pressure her into anything and that I'm happy to stay friends even though I have feelings for her. She ends up warming up to me by the end of the night and our conversation fall into the usual banter as our phone conversations. At my place, she initiates lovemaking and we end up sleeping together. From there, we act like a couple before the work conference starts and she even tells me that I'm the best she's ever had in bed. I'm already in love with her at this point, but I see on her phone while in bed that she's still on the dating apps with multiple guys messaging her a day. I was jealous and bothered, but told her to take her time in figuring out whether she wants to be with me or not, and she agreed and tells me that although she has feelings for me, there are many other men who are taller and at her level that wanted to date her. She wanted to make sure she was making the right decision and kept her options open. She also confessed to me at the time that she doesn't know if she sees a long-term future because I'm not the guy of her dreams and that she always pictured herself being with a tall handsome man. Since she is tall and beautiful, that comes from her background and socioeconomic status. I'm a POC and she is white, and she also said that would be an issue in her family too. But at the same time, she tells me that she loves my personality and being with me. After the trip, we talk more and she tells me she wants to be with me and I moved across the country 8 months ago and we've been living near each other ever since then. We both work at different companies now and have our own independent lives aside from each other. Things have been going great so far between us, but we constantly get shit on by her family and some of her friends because I'm short and she's out of my league. I want to eventually marry her down the line, but every time I bring up that conversation she tries to change the subject and says not to rush things. I'm confused because she wanted her ex to marry her, and she tells me she was a different person back then. Anyhow, I overheard a conversation she had with a friend a couple days ago while talking outside her place that shocked me and led me to finally confront the truth. She talked about how she is stuck because she loves me and thinks I'm the perfect guy for her internally. But that she can't see herself wanting children with me because of my height and my family background. She talked about almost regretting turning down 2 tall, hot rich men for me and that she's not getting any younger and wonder if there is better out there. She says I'm the best and most generous that she's had in bed and that aside from how well I treat her is why she stayed with me so far. But that she wonders if she could find someone like that who's also tall, hot, rich and more sociable. She mentioned how embarrassed she is sometimes whenever people stare at us in public and how I don't have as much assets as her. Essentially, it almost sounded like she was lowering her standards and compromising so much to be with me. She also mentioned how she felt guilty because I deserve someone who is excited about them and not someone who's uncertain. I talked to her about this and asked if she truly feels this way and she confesses that it's true, but that it's also true that she loves me. But she also mentions that she doesn't know if she's not appreciating what she has and is being superficial. She's worried that she will regret if things ended between us and doesn't know whether we should stay together or not. Right now, we are still together.